And we are live. Good morning, world. And wake up and I'm still here is a good day. Okay, the title of today's mishmash of chat and blather is Who Will Save the World? We Will. No, you don't have to go out and save the whole exciting edition. Coming to you live from the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California, my foot. Coming to you live from San Bernardino Mountains of San Diego side. 100 miles from Oceanside, just north of San Unstable. Better connection. The Pop-Tarts I had for breakfast. See, I'm the mommy now, and times I do anyway. Now, let's see. Okay, now what this does is turn on stuff that I never asked for and don't particularly, which makes the connection a little more stable. Better. Well, I was listening to Robert Phoenix this morning, and the thought occurred to me that Trump is not our savior, and Biden is not our savior, and Mike Pence and Kamala Harris are not our saviors either. We have to do it ourselves if we want to keep this nation and keep our liberty that many people have died for. We must do it ourselves, starting in our own families, our own communities, our own neighborhoods. Yes, Oswald, I think I fixed the connection. It shut off the stupid sync and backup that I don't even want, but it comes with alternate connection from my phone. And it says, oh, you're on a metered network. I'll shut off sync and backup. But it's SYNC as in synchronization. And I don't want all my files backed up offline or sent to my phone. It cut out when you mentioned butter. Well, it seems stable here, Oswald. It seems stable here. Anyway, join something. Might be a church, might be Lions International. I'm a member of that. Dad, who was the treasurer for the Elks Club, said they were heavy drinkers, that they went through a lot of booze at their meetings. Oh, and there's Masons, and don't be afraid of the little clubs where you get together and wear a funny apron. They are not the devil's servants. They're just a club. Let's see. Join AA if you have a drinking problem, or NA if you have a drug problem, or if you know someone who does. They help for people who are saddled with friends and relatives who have serious substance abuse problems, join something. Or just play cards or Scrabble or Parcheesi with your neighbors. Hi, Sandra. Let's see. I gotta type that. Hi, not who. Hi, Sandra. Ah. Or well, I guess you can't really do that. You have to wear masks and keep it down to 6 people or fewer. And you kind of don't want people who are very vulnerable gathering with people outside their own households. Now, I'm not fanatical about wearing the mask, but it either. It's a and it I do get angry when the mask police raise a big stink about someone who either isn't wearing a mask or takes it off briefly to eat, to talk on the phone, or just to breathe some air without the mask filtering your own gunk back at you. Yeah. Of course, the Lions and Lioness have not had real meetings in nearly a year now. Especially up here where we don't meet in November and December because of the holidays and the snow. But my Thanksgiving was really nice. Of course, I stayed home alone, but I prefer that, and some people don't. Well, on Wednesday, the seniors' lunch program delivered a complete turkey dinner. And then on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, some restaurateurs and other local people delivered another complete turkey dinner, and it was even better than the first one. Have turkey. I've had, of course, turkey dinner twice. I've had turkey sandwiches. Um, my cats have helped me eat the turkey, and I still have turkey. But on it was either Friday or Saturday, I made some chicken fajitas because I was tired of turkey. And then I realized, well, chicken isn't much different. And I rarely do get tired of turkey, but, 3 days in a row of turkey for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I wanted something different. And I had this shredded, fully cooked chicken in the freezer, so I thawed it out. Oswald mentioned annoying family members. Well, fortunately or not, I've outlived most of the annoying ones. Hmm. Oh, and today, for the first time in a while, I got potato chips. For a few days last week, I had the ruffles because I made an onion dip. I haven't been able to spend much for Christmas, Sandra. I usually make some jam or a banana bread or both for gifts because I'm on an extremely tight budget. I got through the past month because I got a one-time job writing an article for an online magazine. I've forgotten the name of the magazine, but is where you can, the magazine, you evil computer, unstable connection. The magazine has a paywall, but they made the link to my article free. And the whole issue is about Total Recall, the 1990. So I wrote a 2,000-word article reviewing the movie. I want a nice, restful life, but that isn't in the cards. Okay, why do I prefer being alone? Why am I not lonely? And I treasure solitude? Why? Because I write. I write fiction, poetry, nonfiction. Always have, as long as I can remember. I just have things to say, and in my family, you didn't dare open your mouth because somebody would jump down your throat. That's a metaphor, by the way. They didn't literally do it, but it felt like it. Wow. Well, the other day, a lioness friend, gal I really like, brought me bananas. I had forgotten them at the grocery store, so now I can make banana bread. But I went back in my mind to an old family recipe for Christmas cookies. And I tried to duplicate it, and I ended up with shortbread cookies. So I was able to give Candace, who brought me the bananas and a whole bunch of other food, shelf-stable stuff, I was able to give her some shortbread cookies. But that is not what I was shooting for. Our Christmas cookies were very thin and flat and crisp. And I would make a round one like this and put a spoon of mincemeat on in the center, and then make another round one but with a little hole in the middle and put that on top. Well, it doesn't work out well with shortbread. It's too hard to chew. And the recipe, the family recipe, yes, I have it, but it says some flour, some butter, a pinch of salt. No, it says some salt. I don't remember whether it said milk or water, but just enough to make the dough workable, a nice, slightly sticky batter, or not a batter really, what do you call that? There's another word for it, like when you're making bread. Dough, D-O-U-G-H. It had no instructions. It just said some butter, some flour, some salt, and I think it said either water or milk. I used to make it. I was the designated Christmas cookie maker for a couple of years. Now the chocolate chips come with instructions on the package. But of course our favorites were these thin, crisp cookies. I'm going to have to try again. Maybe a little more milk or water. And because I live in the mountains and no matter what I do, the kitchen is kind of cold, I have to use either warm milk or warm water. But I'm going to, hi IB, IB Collectibles is here. I gotta type that. Not N, E. Anyway, I'll keep trying till I get it right, but people like the shortbread cookies. It just isn't what I wanted. Hi, Gwen. Gwen was an actual good friend of my husband, unlike those who despised him and insulted him and are now climbing upon his reputation. Gwen was a real friend, along with Doris Sauter. They wrote a book together from interviews that Gwen did. So let me see if I can. Ooh, Kipple. Yes, please. Let me see if I can find that book. Hi there, sweetie. Kitty cat. Oh, dum 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 dum. It was right. Honest dog, it was. This book's upside down. Oh, there it is. Here. Ah, no harmed in the production of this video. Hi, sweetie. Did you need your treats, kitty cat? Come here. Look at, I got Temptations, the green one. That's seafood medley. Little pillow. Go, kid. Cats come first around here. Okay. What if our world is their heaven? The final conversations, cat hair, of Philip K. Dick. I don't know if it has cows. It ought to have sheep. But okay. And edited by Gwen Lee and Doris Elaine Sauter. Forward by Tim Powers. Now, I have mixed feelings about Tim Powers. I don't believe that he's quite as honest as one might wish. And Kipple, I would love to have Christmas cookie recipes for sugar cookies. I've scoured the internet, including YouTube, and not one of the recipes I've found is what I wanted. Yeah, I think anyone who has not read Gwen and Doris's book should buy it and read it. It's really good. It's mostly Phil talking, and it's well organized, and I like it. Oh, gotta have a potato chip. You see, over the summer, the thin potato chips were really yucky. And I finally figured out, okay, what if, not why, our world is their heaven? That's the title. Ignore the typos. What if our world is their heaven? The final conversations of Philip K. Dick. My hand's getting tired from holding this, so you can see it. It's very good. And on the back it says, in the field of science fiction, the work of Philip K. Dick is unparalleled. His novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Became the classic science fiction film Blade Runner. And that's what I thought. Blade Runner used to be 2 words, Blade Runner. Now it's all 1 word, and I don't know why. Well, I didn't sit on the floor when Phil was talking, and he brought me coffee and either Gauloises, the French cigarettes, which frankly, one drag on one of those will kill you, or Krakatoa Kretek, the Indian, I think, Indian, anyway, or Indonesian. They have cloves in them, and sometimes a clove will explode and sparks fly everywhere. Oh, Mandela. I was sure he had died and that his wife took over. And then he was president of South Africa. And then he died. And I've read at least six different stories of how Billy the Kid was killed. Well, they all have Pat Garrett killing him, but the location and means and method vary considerably. Well, he wasn't in jail in the first story I heard. He had escaped and was riding down the trail toward his friend's house when Pat Garrett shot him in the back. Then a story came out that he died in prison. Then a story came out that he was shot dead while trying to break out of jail. And then a story was that he was shot at his friend's house, but that sounded familiar, so I looked into it, and that was how Jesse James was killed. And the latest, number 6, is that Billy the Kid was hiding in the barn and somebody lured him out so Pat Garrett could shoot him. I don't know. Who knows which is true? I kept checking the official website of his descendants. I guess they're not direct descendants, but descended from his parents. At least that's what I gather. And the last time I checked, the official Billy the Kid website didn't say how he died. I think they gave up. And I only noticed it because someone who called into Art Bell, I think before it was called Coast to Coast, was just Midnight in the Desert or something. Someone who just called into Art Bell's radio show said his college textbook on American history had Billy the Kid dying in prison, and he was sure that wasn't right. And that's when I started looking into it about 30 years ago. Well, Glenn, I don't remember Mandela dying in the 80s, but I did think he had died before 9/11, which was, of course, September 11, 2001. Well, as I've often said, they don't have to change history. They only have to change the history books. And they're doing it. I'm trying to remember something and whether I already mentioned it. Oh, yeah. Most recently, they've changed the story of how California became a part of the United States. Oh, in 1921, Mexican Revolution overthrew the Spanish. California became part of Mexico. It did not. The Mexican army invaded California. Because they wanted the rich farmland and so forth. And they held on to their military oppression of the Californios for almost a quarter of a century before the Californios managed to expel the Mexican army. But the people of California were not Mexican. They were a mix of white Europeans, a lot of Spanish land grant families, and various Chinese, Irish, even blacks. And California did not have slaves, except maybe the Chinese, but that's another story. And the Irish. Don't forget the Irish. And even a few Scots. Anyway, on top of that, everything north of San Francisco was not part of California. It was disputed territory claimed by Russia, England, and Spain. And that territory all the way up to the current Canadian border on the 49th parallel. South of that line became part of the United States under a treaty, the Russo-American Treaty, which wasn't completed till about 1860. And the Californios had kicked out the Mexican army by around 1845 or 6. And California petitioned to become part of the United States because they needed protection from the invading army of Mexico. They took over in a military coup and demanded all kinds of money and property from the people who had been living peacefully in Alta California for decades, perhaps a century. That did not make California part of Mexico. It made California a colony of the military government of Mexico. So the United States did not steal California or even buy California after the Mexican-American War, which ended around 1848 or 9. California threw off those invaders and were fearful that a second invasion would occur because the only reason the revolution and revolt against the Mexican army was successful is that Santa Anna was busy fighting in Texas. California is not part of Mexico, and they should give us back Baja California with all those nice resort beach towns, but they won't. I lived in a Spanish land grant city, Culver City. It isn't so much owned by the Machado family anymore, but it was when I was growing up. Maria Machado, well, there's a word for that. The eldest and most powerful family member would tell the Culver City mayor and um, oh, what do you call that? The little committee. She would tell them what they were going to do. Doña. Thanks, Ivy. Oh, matriarch is what I wanted. I'm a native English speaker. It's Doña, isn't it? With the tilde on the end? Well, let me go recycle some coffee. Dona without the y is a Greek word, a Greek name, a woman's name. I knew someone named Dona. Okay, recycle some coffee, but I'll be right back. Dum de dum, dum de dum de dum, dum de dum, dum de dum de dum. Okay, let's finish the potato chip rant. In the summer, these crisps, as they say in England, these thin potato chips. Taste bad. In winter, they're fine, and it took some experimenting and thinking, but I finally figured it out. In the summertime, when they truck them up here in big old semi rigs, they get hot inside, and the potato chips are full of oil. The oil goes rancid from the extreme heat. Well, in the winter, it's cold up here. Oh, Dona Morales, Dominican Republic. Well, it might be a Spanish name as well. The Dona I knew was Greek. Hi, Tim. Are we persons? Well, anyway, gotta have the potato chip. Mm. Mm-hmm. Now, if you go to England, you want crisps because Chips are French fries, only they aren't like our French fries. They're basically quartered potatoes, cut in 4 pieces the long way. We used to get something like that from a place called the Jack's Chicken Broaster. They, I'm not sure which they did first, but they would either, I think they baked the potatoes ahead of time. And then when you ordered them, they'd throw them in and roast them to make them hot again and completely cooked. Chicken and, oh, those potatoes. Uh, oh, Tim, yeah, that makes sense. My milk doesn't stay fresh as long, even in the refrigerator, in the summertime. Oh, Oswald, misgender. I grew up thinking I'd rather be a boy, but I've never been willing to go through hormone therapy, let alone surgery, to change that. And besides, I gave birth to a wonderful little boy who is now a wonderful man. Couldn't do that if I changed my gender. The thing is, especially when I was growing up, you can't do that. Girls don't do that. Girls can't have toy cars and blocks and Lincoln Logs. Those are boy toys. That was the problem, not my gender. I wasn't allowed to wear blue jeans because those are boys' clothes. So there I was out climbing the trees while wearing a nice dress. And Mom wondered why my clothes always got ruined. Duh. Oh, childhood. If I knew then what I know now. Oh well. I had first boyfriend in kindergarten, Kenny Barr, because I didn't want to play house in the make believe kitchen with the girls. And there were a couple boys who did, but not me. I wanted to play with the trucks and the blocks, so I got myself a boyfriend to play with. I had 2 older brothers and no sisters until much later. When my baby sister was born, I was 9 years old. So most of the toys I played with were my brother's toys. Well, all summer long I didn't see Kenny Barr, and then on the first day of first grade I saw him walking out of the double doors of the main hallway onto the playground. And I said, "Hi, Kenny." He didn't know me. And besides, he had a blonde on each arm. Twin blonde girls. So I lost my first boyfriend. Anyway, so all summer long, I finally found that for some reason the Ruffles, the Ruffles have ridges potato chips, the ones for dipping, actually don't taste half bad. But boy, these thin ones taste like rancid oil. Green eyes? I have green eyes. Who has green? Oh, blondes? No. Kenny's blonde twins had blue eyes. I have dark green eyes. They're not quite brown. And my mother, the devil's sister, who would argue about anything I said, I mentioned once that I had green eyes, and she said, "No, you don't, they're brown." I went and looked in the mirror, and there were a few brown spots that appeared because I was angry, but they're green. Jeez, I don't know what color my eyes were. She would argue about the name of my dead cat and how the cat died. And I didn't have that many dead cats. 2, to be exact. Peter got sick and Mom took him to the pound. Hank got sick and Mom made me take him to the pound because she wouldn't spend money on a vet for a cat. So by the time I was 16 or 17, I didn't want a cat. I knew it would turn out badly if I had a cat. And I wasn't allowed to have a dog. Dogs deserved to go to the vet when they were sick. So Mom was the devil's sister. Let me refill my water. It's almost empty. Hi there, sweetie kitty. Did you want more treats? Hang on. Okay. Let's see what I got for you, sweetie. Now, I do not go out and get cats. They just appear. Usually with a human in tow, but sometimes on their own. Here you go, sweetie. I was relieved when I lived in a small apartment and I had to move out because the ones I called Gray Cat and Kitty, I simply could not take them with me. Well, I got Gray Cat neutered and Kitty spayed so they wouldn't make more babies. And the next day they showed up with collars, with little bells. So I was so relieved I could move out and not have to find homes for them. They had homes, they were just people who didn't bother to get their cats spayed and neutered, or maybe couldn't afford to. I really couldn't afford it, but I made it happen. Found a vet who would take payments. Oh, wow. Oswald has changeable eyes. What's that song? Something Eyes. Old 80s song, I think. Um, can't, it's on the tip of my brain. Eddie Davis Eyes. There's another song. Um, hmm. Well, Betty Davis had a thyroid problem. You'll see people with eyes that appear extra large. That's almost certainly a thyroid problem. I don't think I've ever heard Coldplay. I know I haven't heard Green Eyes. I can't quite even hum the tune, but it isn't Hungry Eyes either. And I can't remember the band, but it was a soft, not really super slow, but a soft song. Anyway, it'll come to me at 2 o'clock in the morning when I don't feel like getting up to write it down. I have to do a bunch of paperwork today. I hate paperwork. but it's for my health insurance. I'm still paying the deductibles and co-pays from when I broke my hip. But I am walking, but, well, like this morning I let the cats out, and after a few minutes I heard a cat hissy fight outside, so I tried to get up and hurry. Almost fell again. I can't hurry. I haven't been able to run for 10 years anyway. My left knee won't let me, and now my right knee won't even let me walk fast. Oh, honey, you can't hide your lion eyes. That's it. Thank you, Tim. I don't like the Betty Davis Eyes song. It's pleasant enough, but the lyrics are kind of snarky. I don't remember. It must be a rockabilly or country song. It's Lying Eyes. Here we go, Google. Lying Eyes song. Okay, there's no G. Oh, it's the Eagles. Eagles. Of course I like it. I like the Eagles. I still remember Phil telling me he had no use for the Eagles, and then someone gave him an Eagles album, and like he just put it aside, but eventually he played it and he went, wow, was I ever wrong? I like the Eagles. And he played it for me. And I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, they're good. It's Lion Eyes. Oh, come on. I did so press an L. There. Lion Eyes. Where a young woman marries a rich old man and she's cheating. Lion Eyes. I might consider marriage if there's some 100-year-old billionaire who's on his deathbed and makes out his will so that I get everything. Otherwise, nope, not interested. And here and there, I've made the mistake of accepting a friend request on Facebook from someone who wanted to hook up, usually someone who was going to sooner or later ask for money. So then I have to block them. And it's a hassle. Give up. I don't have any money and I'm not interested. I'm not in the market. Facebook has a virus. That new Facebook look is so glitchy and so slow. It's driving me nuts. They could have changed the font and made things a little bigger without messing up the whole program. The software is just horrible. Remember when it's like that. I foolishly upgraded a computer to Windows ME once. And the thing is, once you do that, you can't go back to the old version. I had to just wipe the hard drive and start over. And I think I started over with Windows 97, which is just a little upgrade of 95. I loved Windows 95. And XP was just an upgrade of Windows 95. Even better. I loved XP even more. But now I'm stuck with Windows 10, which is kind of clunky and insists on syncing and backing up all my files while I'm trying to load my email or talk on YouTube. Well, anyway, get involved in something small, something local to improve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Some of the founding fathers wanted life, liberty, and property, and that's pretty good too if you have some property. Yeah, I tried to help a friend who has a one of those Apple, I guess a Mac laptop. It's horrible. The techies probably love it, but it is anything but user friendly. Anything but. And there's all these little pictures across the bottom of the screen, and they are not like on this Windows thing, your web browser, your Skype, your Zoom, your file folders. No, it's just to go to places where you can find these things that Windows puts right out front where you can see them. Yeah, Steve Jobs should have read more PKD. Philip K. Dick. I love the scene in the 1990 Total Recall. And I'm a little hazy, but either they're making a remake or they made a remake of it. Anyway, the original, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger is running from the bad guys and he hops into a cab and the robot taxi driver won't move unless the guy gives him a specific destination. And Arnold's going, just go, go. And the robot talks back to him, what's your destination, you know. Well, I love it when he just grabs the robot and rips him out of the cab and drives it himself. I'm sure that Silicon Valley is producing cars that you cannot drive. No steering wheel, no gas pedal, no brakes, just a car that does everything, kind of like, oh, what was that movie I saw? Oh, it's a series. I can't remember the title, but they're all in a fake computer generated heaven, and the guy was killed by his car. The bad guys reprogrammed his car to kill him by going off the bridge into the ocean. My brother told me about that show, and I started watching it, and then I forgot, and now I can't find it because I don't remember the name. Was it Dark Mirror? I agree, Gwen. XP was the best Windows ever. Let me see. No, it wasn't Dark Mirror. Um, anyway, the guy's in virtual heaven, and he has a counselor who's still alive but hooks up through the internet and tries to help him. If I ever remember the title, I'll watch it again. Well, maybe if it's on Netflix, maybe it's, or my sister put me on her Netflix as a family member, so I might be able to find it there. Total Recall was made in 2012. Where have I been? I've never even tried to see it. Oh, the new Blade Runner. I wrote a whole book about how bad it is. I know dusky orange landscapes are beautiful, but for 2 hours, punctuated by blue interiors that are so dark that you can't tell what the people are doing. I'm sure the fight scene between Officer K and the android in the old farmhouse must have been very carefully choreographed, but I couldn't see it. Um, there was one standout in acting in the new Blade Runner. Darn if I can remember it. It wasn't a major character. Um, oh, it's in my book. Yeah. Um, I don't blame the director because Denis Villeneuve is an artiste. That's what he does. But he was the wrong director for that film. Plain and simple, and I blame Ridley Scott. The biggest problem I had with the new Blade Runner was all the plot holes. I was screaming continuity over and over because things that happened later in the film totally contradicted things that happened earlier. No, Ridley Scott isn't a great director either. Talk to some of his actors. I don't know. I would have loved to, although it probably would never happen, I would love to see it directed by, what's his name? And I always forget his name. He directed Brazil. I never remember his name. It's Terry Gilliam, yes. For some reason, I want to call him Miguel. Thank you, Oswald. Gilliam is 80 years old. Wow. Well, at least he isn't Steven Spielberg, who never had an original thought in his life. Yeah, I know. Spielberg has had some real hits, but he just got lucky with good script writers, screenplays, and a lot of them actually plagiarized other authors. But let's not get into that. I don't want to get sued. Oh well. Anyway, I've been on for over an hour, and I still want you to save your world, your small, insular world. Everything good starts at the bottom and works its way up to the top. We've seen what happens from the top down. Even Trump, who many people thought to be a savior, hasn't done a whole lot for ordinary people. He's too hooked into what people call capitalism, which is not capitalism at all. Oh, his father only left him 1 million to start with. My God, I could have spent my whole life living on the interest from $1 million and only dipped into the capital to start a new business. Well, Biden isn't a savior either. They're all working from the top down, and look where it's got ordinary work. Look where it's got people who are, for one reason or another, unable to work. Now, I'll give Trump that he lowered unemployment and people had jobs. But what kind of jobs? At what pay? And what happened to the small businesses while he was propping up Costco and Walmart and Target? And in book publishing, oh my. The one good thing is constantly attacked, and that's online publishers, especially Amazon, but there are others, where anybody can write a book and publish it and see if people will buy it. And it's booming because the mainstream publishing companies won't take a chance. They'll pay hundreds of thousands or even millions for a book by some celebrity or politician, but they won't hand out 1,000 or two to a new author who has something really great. Well, actually, Trump's dad didn't always bail him out. Trump was constantly going bankrupt. And I'm not the one to talk because I've been bankrupt 3 times. The second time I got not discharged, but kicked out because I couldn't make the payments. I went chapter 13 where you keep your house and your car, but you pay every month. And I couldn't swing it on the second bankruptcy. So when things got to where I could file again, and I really needed to, because I had hospital bills I couldn't pay, I did it a third time and I was successful, but the whole time, once, no, twice a year, my mortgage servicer, they're not even the real lender, they just service the loan, kept making false statements claiming I had missed payments or let my insurance lapse and they wanted to foreclose and they asked the bankruptcy court for permission to take my house. And now that I'm discharged and kind of on my feet, they're doing it again. They want so much money per month because they imposed insurance on my home. And I have insurance, and it's a lot cheaper than theirs. So I have to deal with that. And it's time to figure out my health insurance. So I'm going to have to take some time for someone to lead me along the path because I don't understand all this stuff and I'm not stupid. It's deliberately obscure and confusing. Yeah, Trump did deal with China, and for that he got blasted in the media as a racist. Anything you do to China must be racist. Oh, give me a break. Trump is no angel, but I don't think he cares about race, color, creed, ethnicity, or even political views. I mean, after all, he was a Democrat, and the only reason he went Republican was because the Democrats wouldn't nominate him. They wanted Obama and Hillary and Biden. And I'm looking at, I don't care who wins. I don't care who is inaugurated as president in January because they're Cinderella's sisters, stepsisters. Each one is uglier than the other. Well, yeah, Trump is often falsely accused of things he never did. He talks trash. I'm sure he's got a potty mouth. But look at what he does. And it's not all good, but it doesn't rate the flaming anger and attacks that he gets. Biden, there's nothing to attack. I don't think there's anything there. It's going to be the Kamala Harris presidency, and I really don't like her. It's good to have a woman in high office, especially a woman of color, but come on. Why that one? I don't know. It's ridiculous. And by the way, I if someone passes a reparations bill, I'm going to have to pay myself reparations. My grandfather was passing for white, and his father couldn't pass, and his father certainly couldn't pass and married a Cherokee woman. But I give them kudos for the fact that starting with the first slave who won his freedom, they all married, well, now Cherokee counts here. They all married white women. There's reservation Cherokee who look just like me. I'm also 1/4 Scots with a smidgen of Irish. And the Scots and Irish have been slaves in North America. And of course, the Cherokee walked the Trail of Tears, but my ancestor didn't because she was married, lived in town, and wasn't on the reservation. But yeah, I don't listen to what politicians say as much as I watch what they do, and I can't see where Biden has done anything. I don't like Trump because what I see in him is the potential to become a dictator. But I don't see a path forward with Biden in charge. So, as I said, start small, start on the local level. That's where it counts, and that's where you can make a difference. Help people, reach out to others for help for yourself. Get to know your neighbors. If politics is your thing, get into, finally got the word, city council, local politics. If you can't get elected, try some of the advisory councils. They're quite often all volunteers and very happy to have anyone volunteer. It doesn't pay. Started in both understanding more about your community and informing officials about your community. Do something. Join Parks and Recreation. I don't care. Do something. If you have neighbors who are elderly or disabled, offer to help in whatever way you can. Maybe when you make dinner, you pop another potato into the pot or some more rice and offer to share a meal with someone who maybe needs it or at least needs the human contact and the caring. Yeah, China is, that's the thing. Corporations, they are not American. They're mostly owned by foreigners. And I think we should kick out McDonald's. They're ruining our health with crappy food, plastic French fries. Well, they aren't really plastic, but ugh. There's something terribly wrong with a French fry that shrivels up and dies when you try to reheat it. Whether you use the microwave or a frying pan, doesn't matter. I've made French fries at home. I hear a cat. I just gotta see which cat and what she's doing. I don't know. Sometimes it's the neighbor's cat sneaking in. Ooh, it's Tora. Come say hi to your adoring fans. See, no more bandages on the hind paws. Come on, show them your hoppers. No more bandages. And she's such a sweetie, and she's so cute, and she hates being lifted up like that, don't you? I'm sorry. You want some treats? I know you do. Look what I got. Party Mix. Beachside Crunch. All is forgiven. She limps a little, but not as much as I do. You want your... Is there a stranger cat? It's entirely possible. Anyway, top down doesn't work no matter who is at the top. It's all global, international garbage. I am stuck with this house probably for the rest of my life because I could not rent a room for what I pay on my mortgage, including taxes and insurance. And I have my garden and my kitty cats. Yes, you. Hi, Tora. Her full name is Tora Tora Tora, like the movie. Here, have some temptation. I've allowed cats out again today because it's warm enough to leave the door open. Those two, neither one, meows. They just sit outside the door and look inside with a wistful expression. So I have to notice that they want in. It's about 60 degrees today, so I can leave the door open until it starts to cool off a bit. and we're getting some wind, which is not good in a forest. At least it isn't 90 degrees and windy, but there's always worries about fire. Well, Trump might still win. I don't care. You never know what a court is going to do. You never know what a state legislature is going to do. The election is the Electoral College votes. It isn't official, but I don't see where the American people win with either candidate. They're all crooks. And the one thing I thought 4 years ago was, well, at least Trump is our crook. Now I'm not so sure. And he does have the potential to become a dictator. Watch Iran, because that's the one sure way for a president to stay in office is for war, a foreign war to break out. I don't want to see that. The last thing we need is a dictator who can't even be voted out. No matter how good his intentions, he's still wrong. And yes, there was election fraud. There always has been. Andrew Jackson was defeated by John Quincy Adams, our 6th president, in the Supreme Court. Because of all the allegations of election fraud, and the real crook was John Quincy Adams. Andrew Jackson was not a nice guy. He did terrible things to the Native Americans. But he did kick out the National Bank, which was basically the Rothschilds' Bank of England. And in the 20th century, Americans fought in 2 wars, 2 world wars, for what? We defeated the Germans. We didn't defeat the Nazis. They just decided, oh, there's more people and natural resources in the Americas. Let's take over there. And to a great extent, they have. And here we are. We can't do anything about the international issues. We can do very little about the national issues, other than write to congressmen and senators. And by the way, it's unfortunate that we call our representatives congressmen. Senators are also in the Congress. The Congress is a bicameral legislature made of 2 houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives. And I knew that our system of education had fallen to new lows when some media talking heads were laughing at a senator who said he had to get back to work in Congress. was nothing wrong with what he said. They're just too stupid to realize that the Senate is part of the Congress. Idiots. And you wonder why I don't watch TV. Haven't in years and years. 15 or so, I don't know. I've lost track. I do sometimes listen to the radio, but they're just as bad. They misquote or misparaphrase things that public figures have said just so they can make their point. That isn't news. That's commentary. And stations that used to be news are now mostly idle talk shows with, like, I don't care what you had for dinner on Saturday. This is Monday morning. What's happening in the world? Nope, I got to listen to that. And then their opinions. Yeah, it is amazing that TV exists, especially since I can't get it over the air. I would have to pay for cable. And many people are in that position now. Because even those that do still broadcast over the air have been forced to reduce their power and therefore their reach. Their signal doesn't travel very far, and it's often giving people glitchy sound and fuzzy images that cut in and out. I'm not at 60 or 100 a month for cable. It's bad enough that I have to pay so much for internet and a phone. I had to give up the landline because I couldn't afford both and I had to have internet. Maybe what are they, Starlight satellites, the ones that are going to provide internet from space, maybe they'll add some competition and lower the prices of internet. We'll see. And I've just about had it with KFI, the so-called 50-watt clear channel station. They don't call it that anymore, but it's supposed to be. I often lose the signal even during the day. You expect it to drift at night, so you have to retune it to get to the frequency that has changed. But they'll have 5 minutes of the program and then 10 minutes of commercials. You see, advertisers are buying more and more radio time because they don't get bang for their buck with television. I'm trying not to cuss. Yeah. And the so-called news has so much opinion. I don't care whether I agree with them. That isn't the point. Just tell me what happened. And then when you're done, you can give me your opinion and label it as opinion. Now I really want to find that show where the guy is killed by his car and in virtual heaven, and his counselor is alive and connecting to him through the internet. I've forgotten the title of the show. I've got to find it. I haven't watched it since I came home from convalescing with a broken hip. Gotta find it. Let's see. Maybe Google can tell me. Oh, and his fiancée still wants to marry him, even the Upload. Not super new. There's 3 seasons, I think. It's called Upload. Finally, when he dies, he's uploaded to a virtual computerized heaven, and his fiancée, who's still alive, still wants to marry him. uh, oh well. It isn't quite mindless entertainment, but it is rather anti-internet, and yet it streams on the internet. So anyway, it's time for me to get going. It's been an hour and a half. And yeah, down with McDonald's. They're ruining our health with crappy food that costs too much. I can eat at a pretty nice restaurant for what you pay for McDonald's. And I can eat even better if I learn how to cook at home. I'm working on it. I can make a few things that I couldn't make before. See, I usually have at least 2 failures before the success. I'm not that much of a cook, but I'm learning because I love to eat. And I probably eat things you would think are yucky, but, well, like chicken livers. When they're cooked properly, they are awesome. And the same people who go, ew, liver, will think nothing of having a liverwurst sandwich. Liverwurst is pig liver. Well, I don't eat any meat raw anymore, young master. I don't trust it not to have, E. coli or salmonella or whatever grows on meat. Not anymore. Our supply chain is not. Ah, Kipple, a fellow traveler who loves that program, Upload. And no, I don't mean that I'm a Mason when I say fellow traveler. That isn't the only place where people use the phrase fellow traveler. Although both my grandfathers were Masons, I never knew Dad's stepfather, Marvin. I think he died before I was born. But he was one kind of, he was a Scottish Rite Mason. And Mom's father was a York Rite Mason, and they were both like 33rd degree. One was a Knight Templar, same thing. And they were Shriners. The White Shrine does great things. They have those hospitals and stuff. But neither one was wealthy or powerful, although Marvin had a good life insurance policy, so my grandmother didn't suffer too much when he passed away. Mom's father, we called him Judd. Uh, Never called him Grandpa. Anyway, he really didn't have much. He had worked for Hal Roach Studios, keeping all their cars and other machines working. He was an engineer, a stationary engineer. Well, his pension was $15 a month, which was okay in 1960. Our house payment was $23. It was okay, but it wasn't great. increased. It did not have cost of living or any of that. But fortunately, Granny had a good job as a school teacher. And then later she worked in a bank. And she had a good teacher's pension, which she invested instead of spending it. Oh, Kipple, please send me the recipe, just in case you guys want to contact me. Now, I can't guarantee that I'll see your email right away, but you can always email me. If you don't want to do Facebook, then use email. Tuffy was my best cat. As often happens, she was the kitten that nobody wanted, so I kept her. And she was, well, Tuffy and Cubby were both the best, but Cubby was what they call a sport. There were two cats that were litter mates that had a kitten named Bear. And Bear was really weird with a round, flat face. And then Bear gave birth to Cubby. And he was just the best cat in the whole universe, along with Tuffy. So I had the best male cat and the best female cat at the same time. And they were just awesome cats. Never had another one quite like either of them. That's the problem with pets. They don't live very long and they break our hearts. And I was never going to get another cat when a local family who were fleeing domestic violence needed a place for their cat, their kitten, now, tonight. So I said, okay, bring her over. How old am I? 66. I don't feel like it until I try to do something and my body reminds me. But I feel like I'm still a kid. And I want to have some fun. And at the moment, my biggest interest is good food. Of course, I can't be buying caviar and lobster and prime rib and all that, but I can find ways to cook what I can afford to make stuff I like. Here you go, 66. Granny lived to 93, and her husband, Judd, was 88. Smoking killed him, but hey, he was 88. Um, Dad's mother, Dee Dee, lived to be 80, broke her hip and didn't make it through the surgery, I believe. Let's see. No, that was Dad's father. But yeah, Dee Dee also broke her hip. They both went the same way. Dad's father was only 70, but he didn't take care of himself. And he had really awful arthritis. He couldn't straighten his neck, so his head was always kind of pointing down with his chin close to his chest. And he'd walk around like Frankenstein's monster because his spine was just not bending. But he was 70 and he fell and broke his hip and didn't make it through surgery. Now, Dee Dee actually made it through the surgery, but died the same day anyway. I talked to her on the phone. I drove out to visit her and they wouldn't let me in because it wasn't visiting hours. And during the night, she fell asleep and never woke up. Grandpa never woke up from the surgery. Wow. Anyway, I'm trying to get out of here, guys. I got stuff to do, and I have to write. Look into A. Jonas Vonderplanets. Okay, that's interesting. Um, don't know about it, young master, but I'll look into it. Fonder planets? Let's see. Ponder. Came right up. Wikipedia, alternative nutritionist. Well, I'm doing very well considering my family history. I have arthritis, but I still bend. I can't keep my shoulders back and have straight posture because then I can't move my arms. I've never been able to do yoga. Forget that. I don't bend in those directions. And I don't want to be upside down because that makes me barf. Okay. But I'm pretty up on some nutrition. For example, I should not eat beets because it's bad for my kidneys, but I love beets and I eat them because they're good for something else, and I've forgotten what it was. And I'd rather be happy and eat beets. I make borscht. It's a Russian Jewish beet soup. It's kosher. You make a soup with apple juice and beets. Get it really cold. Dollop of sour of the bowl right in the middle and pour the soup around. My, it's awesome. Oh, Agua thinks I'm sweet. Thank you. My little kitty Tora is sweet, but I'm convinced that if I died or went into a coma, she would eat me. Some pets will, some pets won't, and I think she's one that will. She's definitely a bobcat hybrid. She was not advertised as a bobcat hybrid. It was just these people needed a home for their kitty cat right now. And I said, okay, bring her over. And they did, late at night in the dark. But she's a sweetie. Anyway, I really gotta go. I have to write my book, which is, of course, The X in Exegesis. It requires real academic type research, but I promise I'll make it readable for any intelligent, reasonably intelligent, reasonably educated person who's interested in what Philip K. Dick's mystical experience was all about. Yeah, the only borscht I could find in the grocery store was artificially sweetened. That's when I started buying beets and learning how to make my own. It's tons cheaper and tons better. You basically boil, pour off the water, peel them, chop them up, and put them in a pot with apple juice, lemon juice, and sugar, and cook them till the beets are nice and soft, but not falling apart, or even if they are falling apart. Anyway, I must go now. Go and read and write. Got to. So you guys have a wonderful day. Think about what you can do, not what you can't. It might be as simple as smiling at a stranger you pass by on the street. Make their day. go ahead and make my day. Dirty Harry had it backwards. Make their day in a good way. Where, when? Well, I thought I would have the X and Exegesis published by Christmas, and I'm still hoping, but hope is fading. There's so much to do. Not sure. Maybe it'll have to be by March 2, the second day of March, which is significant in his life in several ways. I just don't know. Thank you all for being here, and I'll catch you later. Let's see, what am I clicking? Here.